Alright, I have a brain to sculpt and mold, and I've kind of just started shaping a wad of clay. Right now I'm just taking a wooden tool and I'm scraping out from underneath of it so that it appears more 3D. And that way when it just meets down there like that, it doesn't look like it's a brain sitting here, it looks like it's formed up from it. So if I carve out from underneath like that a little bit, it gets to be much more 3D looking, like a brain sitting there. I'm gonna wet that down a bit so that's not a harsh, sharp edge underneath. Okay. I want to make a center line down the brain. Like so. Okay. It's kind of brain-shaped-ish right now. I like the end of that brush. It's got a nice V. That'll really help me separate these two parts. And that's going to seem really harsh right now, but it's going to, when I add the texture onto it, it's going to calm down quite a bit. So there. Okay. Alright. Now I just want to wet my other brush here really good. Push it out. Wet my sculpture down. I'm just going to smooth out all those tool marks and stuff. So I'm starting with a nice, smooth surface. I have a picture of a brain over here on my computer so that I have something to go by as I shape this. This is going to be a simple one-piece mold, and as long as I keep that in mind during the sculpting, it won't be very hard to pull. What I've done is I took a water blaster that I bought from the dollar store, which is basically a giant syringe, basically, and I have sanded down the end so it's a lot wider, and you can shoot clay out of it and make a brain-like stream, which is what these pieces are right here. So I'm going to look at this picture of the brain and make these look like that. I want to overlap a little bit over there, and I'll have this go into itself, but you can see how this is going to look a lot like a brain once I'm done. And gore and internal organs are always, in my mind, the easiest things to do, because if you don't like the way they look, all you got to do is soak them down in enough blood, because they would be covered in blood, and nobody knows that you didn't do a great job on them. But you can really see how that is getting a lot of good texture now with these noodles. And again, I got it from a dollar store. I'm pretty frugal when it comes to that stuff, so I don't pay a lot for sculpting tools. Most of my sculpting tools are bits of wire, either floral wire or paper clip or something along those lines that I have twisted up and then taped onto the end of a pencil or onto the end of a pen. Sculpting tools normally aren't the cheapest things in the world, so I make a lot of my own. And frankly, you just need a lot of them. just for different shapes and things. So right now I am getting my brain set up. And that's looking a lot like a brain. I'm going to flip to a different picture here so I have another view. But yeah, back on my braining. This is water-based clay, so you kind of need to keep it nice and wet or it can dry out on you. And when it dries out, it just gets hard and it doesn't take shape as well. It cracks a lot. So just keep it moist. That's why I've got a spray bottle here while I work. But I'm really liking the brain-like texture that I'm getting from this guy. And I'm going to go ahead and smooth that down quite a bit when I'm done just putting all these ropes on. Because right now this is a bit overly textured. It's a bit thick. But I will most certainly calm it down with a brush. And I kind of want these two front areas to match a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that area next. Just the more weird folds we put in there, I think, the better. Okay. Alright, slide that out of the way. Get some clay that is rather moist. And I'm just going to feed it into here like this. And just put in as much as you can. It's forcing its way down to the bottom as I go. This is not the easiest thing in the world to do, because this amount of clay doesn't really want to be forced through this tube, but it certainly can be done. Hope you can see as I'm pushing on this end, it's pushing on that end. I'm slowly but surely getting it filled up. I'm just mashing it, pushing it through, pulling it off the sides, pushing a little bit at a time in there. And that's actually enough, because I don't need a lot for this, but it takes a bit of force to get this end here good and lined up. And right now it doesn't take a lot of force because I'm pushing down the air that's still trapped in it. But now I'm just kind of bracing it against my stomach here. And as I squeeze, out comes clay rope, which of course is what brains are made of. Clay. See, as I get to that wet clay that I just put in there, it gets a lot easier to push through. And this tool was $1 at the dollar store. I had to sand the end to make it wider, or you could just cut it off, either one. Because the original hole is very small for shooting a thin stream of water. Alright, prop this turntable up a bit so that I can see that bottom part of the brain. There's another part of the brain that happens right in this area. I'm going to sculpt that after I smooth this guy out.